During the night, I got a question from an Amy R, and she wants to know how much feed she can expect her chickens to eat in a day. The short answer is, it depends. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why. First, I want to thank Amy for the question. It's a question that everyone that's thinking about getting into chickens or has just gotten chickens wants to know. In fact, I think it's one of the most important questions people need to ask themselves before even thinking about getting their first chick. How much feed your chickens eat will depend on what environment you have your chickens. If you're able to let your chickens roam wild like I do, then the amount of feed you'll go through will be very little. I can buy a 50-pound bag of laying pellets from my local feed mill for $9, and because my chickens pretty much feed themselves, that bag of feed will last me 2 months. It also depends on if you give them pellets or crumbles and how the chickens access the feed. The pellets will last longer because when they knock them out of the feeder onto the ground, they'll still eat them. But when they scrape the crumbles out on the ground, it's like dust, so the chickens just trample it. It helps if you get a feeder like this one that has dividers. With those dividers, the chickens can't scratch as much feed out. Also take into consideration the amount of water you'll need to give them. If you feed nothing but a dry feed to chickens in an enclosure, expect to go through 3 to 6 gallons or more of water a day in the summer months for a dozen chickens. And because my chickens eat nothing but bugs and grass that's full of water, my 12 chickens don't even drink a gallon a day in the summer. Before I tell you what I think your chickens will eat, there's one thing I want to mention that I wish more people would do. And that is to look for their local feed mill instead of going into some fancy corporate big box store that sells so-called top quality feed at premium prices. If you get a chance, you should go into one of those stores and look at the feed they have. Look at the date of manufacture on those bags. I'm telling you, the feed sitting out for sale is sometimes 6 months old or more. It's stale, and a lot of times when I go in those stores, I walk through the feed aisle so I can see what's new, and I see bugs all around those bags of feed. Those bugs mean bug droppings, and I don't want my chickens eating bug droppings. On the other hand, the feed I get at my local feed mill is fresh, usually only a few days old, and on several occasions when I've gotten the feed from them, I had to wait a few minutes because they were in the process of bagging the feed right off the line. So please, look around for a local feed mill. The feed is fresh, it's just as nutritious, and it's cheaper than the big box stores are able to sell it. Now, Amy says that some of her friends got her 1 Rhode Island Red and 3 Barred Rock hens for layers and a bunch of Leghorns for meat, and then she somehow got a Dominica rooster. That's an important piece of information because different chickens eat different amounts of feed. First, the breed of chicken, how big it is, whether or not it's laying, all these things play into how much a chicken will eat. For this video, I'm going to talk about mature chickens from about 20 weeks of age until they're 2 to 3 years old, when the egg production of most hens has dropped off to the point they need to go into a cook pot. Let's look at the Rhode Island Red and the Barred Rock hens first. These two breeds, in my opinion, fall into the large to jumbo breed category, similar to Buff Orpingtons. So each chicken is going to eat somewhere between 6 and 8 ounces of feed every day. So for each hen, you're looking at around 3 to 3.5 pounds of feed each week if they're in an enclosure. The Leghorns, I'm assuming, are white Leghorns, but there are several types of Leghorn chickens, so in general, you can expect the Leghorns to eat a little less than the others, but you're still looking at around 4 to 7 ounces per chicken per day. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that each Leghorn will eat 3 pounds of feed every week. I'm also going to say the Dominica rooster will eat about 3 pounds of feed a week. When you add all this together, a 50-pound bag of feed will last a dozen chickens 9 or 10 days. If you throw them your table scraps, you'll probably get about 2 weeks out of a 50-pound bag. This is where I get into the last part of her question about what she's getting herself into. Frankly, unless you have access to an area large enough for your chickens to forage for their own food, it's cost prohibitive to buy food for the eggs you get. If you're doing this as a hobby and you so happen to get a few eggs out of it, then by all means go for it. But to think you can raise chickens and get eggs that are cheaper than store-bought, it simply isn't going to happen. Also, don't think the eggs are going to be that much different than store-bought if your chickens rely on store-bought feed to satisfy their entire diet. Think about it. The big factories use basically the same feed you buy in a 50-pound bag, they just buy it by the truckload, many truckloads, so they get a big discount. You'll also have to deal with every critter in the world, even if you don't think you have them around. I promise you that everything from fox to raccoons and possums and even bear have checked out my chicken house over the years. You'll have to be able to deal with the loss of a single chicken, or maybe even your whole flock if a group of raccoons comes through one night and wipes you out. If you have small kids and they go out to feed the chickens with you one morning and it looks like the set of a Stephen King movie because a family of weasels got hungry, then you might want to think about whether or not chickens are for you. I know it sounds like I got off topic, but all these things play a part in caring for chickens. I don't want to discourage you, but I wanted to answer your question as thoroughly as I could. I love raising chickens and have faced all these hurdles over the years, and I still do it because I love doing it. If you think, if you know you can overcome these obstacles, then I say go for it. Raising chickens has been very rewarding for me, and I hope it is for you too. Thanks for the question.